I left South Korea in August of 2020 after 4 years of living and working there as a native English teacher. I originally applied through EPIK and got placed in the Cholanamdo language program. Now, it's been a few months since I've been back and I've had plenty of time to reflect on my time living and teaching in South Korea. If you've come across my channel before, then you know that I have made videos about living in Korea in the past, but today I wanted to do the ultimate guide to teaching in Korea. The topics that I'm going to talk about in this video are based off my own experiences and stories from other teachers I've met over the past 4 years, based off a public school environment. So if you are looking to work for a private academy or a hagwon, then not all of this information is necessarily going to apply to you. There's a huge amount of things that I wanted to cover in this ultimate guide, and so for easier viewing, what I'm going to do is split them into 6 shorter videos. All 6 of these videos are going to be linked down below in a playlist, and you can also find them on my channel. Everything is going to be time-stamped so that you can skip to a specific topic that interests you. The 6 videos will be: number 1, where will I live, city versus rural. Number 2, landing in Korea, orientation and contracts. Number 3, after school, apartments and co-teachers. Number 4, teaching schedules, class types and the weekends. Number 5, your first class, teaching tips and attitude to teaching. And number 6, the pros, the cons and the reality of teaching in South Korea. If you haven't already checked out the previous videos and topics to this ultimate guide, then go and do that first. But otherwise, let's crack on with the next topic. Number 1, you have the chance to go and live overseas, a chance that not everybody gets in their life. You can immerse yourself in and experience another culture. You get to learn a new language, meet new people, visit new places. It's very exciting. Number 2, teaching can be fun. Yes, it can be a bit tiring and repetitive at times, but it's really fun to watch your students learn and grow. When you build really good relationships with them, when they are comfortable enough to joke around with you and chat to you, then the funniest things can happen. Students can say the strangest things in English. Number 3, Korean food is pretty good. So if you are a bit of a foodie, you like to try different things, then there's plenty to go and explore. Number 4, it is easy to save some money, especially if you go with the intent of coming back with some cash in your pocket. And of course there are benefits of going with a program like EPIK, because they pay for your flight to and from Korea for you, and you get bonuses such as severance pay, and you don't have to pay for your apartment rent every month. It's easy to save some money. Number 5, you are in Asia. It is very easy just to pop over to Japan or Thailand during your vacation time. Flights are cheaper. Number 6, you are going to develop life skills. You are going to have to figure out how to get around another country where you may not necessarily speak the language. I built so much confidence in Korea in just being able to order food, get around using public transport, just search for things online, being able to read and understand basic Korean. This confidence then led me to go and travel in other countries. I toured Japan alone for 3 weeks, just using trains and buses, and you know what, it was really, really fun. Number 7, life is different and everything is exciting and new. You are going to experience a whole new culture, a different routine, meet people from all around the world. Just simple things such as a local cafe owner giving you free cake as service because they see you around often and they recognize you, building relationships with local people. You are going to gain experiences people back home might not ever experience in their life. Anyone back home would say that they were jealous of my confidence to go and live in a different country for 4 years, such as Korea. But do you know what? Anybody can do it. If you want it, then do it. Number 8, there is a lot to go and visit in Korea. Parts of Korea are very beautiful and it is quite a mountainous country. They have seasonal and cultural festivals. There always seems to be something going on. Adaptation can be hard and take some time. I settled into Korea very quickly, but other people can take a lot longer. You will go through certain phases where you miss being home or your family or a certain food that you can't get in Korea. For me, it was always garlic bread. Culture shock is a real thing and everybody goes through it to some degree. It's a good idea to learn about Korean culture before you go to Korea so you have an idea of things that you might come across. Then you will know why people might bump into you when they are rushing past you in a busy place without saying sorry, or why you're expected to take your shoes off at a restaurant. Number 2, people might treat you differently. Say for example, you live in a rural area and you are blonde. You might be the first blonde person a local has seen in real life. They might stare. Locals might also ask you questions because they're curious about you because you're very clearly not from Korea. Knowing a bit of Korean here is going to help. So I was walking with a friend once and a lady who lived locally walked past us and said something in Korean to her. Now my friend presumed that she had said something bad by the way that she had been stared down and spoken to. The Korean tone can occasionally sound a little cold or is quite direct. But because I spoke Korean and understood Korean, I was able to translate and say that actually the lady who you feel like just stared you down in a rude way actually told you that you were beautiful. Leading on to number 3, language difficulties. Learning some Korean is going to be helpful, but it is also not the easiest of languages. I would get so anxious to begin with when I went into shops or cafes and I realized that I didn't know what somebody was saying to me. Just being able to know that somebody is asking if I wanted a receipt, if I needed a bag, or whether I wanted my drink hot or cold, just lessened that anxiety and made going about my daily life so much easier. Number 4, fine dust and air pollution. Now I'm not going to sugarcoat this because this is something that specifically bothered me and was a part of the reason why I decided to leave Korea after 4 years. I would say that this bothered me more the longer that I stayed in Korea because I felt like it got slightly worse. Sometimes the air quality is awful. You will see people wearing masks outside because the air quality isn't good. It would irritate my sinuses and my throat, and some days would give me bad headaches. There are apps and websites that you can check to see what the air quality is like so that if you're on your way to work and you're walking, you know to put a mask on. Now this was something that I loathed because I'm an outdoor photographer, and when the air pollution wasn't great, the sky and the air would just look hazy and dirty, and it doesn't really make for good photographs. Number 5, Korean summer is hot and humid. Now this is personal. I'm from the UK, so I wouldn't say that we really get extremely hot weather throughout the year. And so for me, Korean summer was suffocating. I would sweat just being stood outside for 5 minutes. My walk to school was only about 10 minutes, but I would get to school and just be dripping. The winter is very cold and dry as well, but I dealt with that much better than I did with Korean summer. Number 6, there is no career progression. If you go through a program like EPIK and you get to your 4th year, you are on special pay, which is the highest pay grade possible. That's it. There is no way to keep climbing. There is nowhere to go from there. Number 7, food. I know I put food in the pros, but a different reason. If you are gluten-free or vegan or vegetarian, then you are going to struggle slightly. If you live in Seoul, then there are some foreign and vegan-friendly restaurants and bakeries and shops. There are also online food delivery services such as Sprout, which caters to specific dietary needs like being vegan. When it comes to a bog standard Korean restaurant and you are either vegan, vegetarian or gluten-free, you're going to struggle. You're going to be expected to know how to teach straight off the bat. Your Korean co-workers are just going to presume you know what to do because you have gone through some kind of training. Okay, welcome to Korea, here is your schedule, there is your first class. After a couple of weeks of living there, your school also may presume that you can get around by yourself. So in one of my previous videos, I mentioned about different class types and I mentioned travel schools. So if you get a travel school, you may be told, hey, you've got a travel school, you've got to be here at this day, at this time. Have fun. You know, just get on that bus, the bus that you've never been on before, and go to a school that you've never been to before. People can be quite direct in Korea. If you look tired, you look a bit unwell, somebody will probably tell you. I'm not saying that Korean people are mean, by the way, but they're not afraid to tell you exactly how it is. This leads into the vain culture. Now, appearance is very important in Korea, and you will notice when you get there that everybody looks smart and presentable and clean. It is not unheard of for men to wear makeup. There's not a lot of popping into university in your tracky bottoms or pop into the convenience store in your pajamas. Cities can kind of smell, so I actually saw a really funny comment on a blog somewhere, I can't remember where I saw it, which basically said that breathing the air in a Korean city is a bit like the Harry Potter every flavour bean. You don't really quite know what flavour you're going to get, so you could walk around a corner and it could be chocolate, but you might walk down the next street and it's vomit. Next is personal space is not really a thing on public transport. If that train or bus or subway is busy, there's a lot of people, you just squeeze where you can find a gap. Ooh, and the non-stop subway in Seoul. Oh, when you hit that at the wrong time. It's gonna take you a long time to find decent pizza in Korea. Korean pizza it's not great. Which leads on to the next point, which is the sugar content in Korean food. Now, you know how some countries will put salt in their food to preserve it so it doesn't go off fast? I'm pretty sure Korea does that, but with sugar. I started to notice by my second, third year that a lot of Korean food had sugar in it. Even something like tteokbokki, which is a spicy rice cake, the sauce would actually be like a sweet spice. Also bread, just going to the local bakery and buying bread. I would always wonder why it was so sweet. That's because there's sugar in it. And so I found that I was ingesting more sugar than I wanted to. There will be ups and downs while living in Korea. You're going to go through some tough patches where you miss home or you miss certain foods, or you're going through culture shock, and other times you're going to fly high and you're going to be loving life. Talk to other native teachers, other foreigners in the country, because they are going through the same thing that you are and they can relate. One extra thing actually that I am just going to add in, if you watch K-dramas and you are going to Korea because you have seen K-dramas and you're like, hey, Korea looks fantastic. K-dramas are not a realistic view of how living in Korea is. If you go to Korea thinking that that is what Korea is going to be like, then you're going to go through some culture shock. So do some reading and read up on Korean culture. Learn Korean, you're gonna need some. Seriously, learn Korean. The alphabet, Hangul, is easy as heck, man. There's free stuff online to go learn it. Take like a couple of hours. Learn some. That is the last installment of the ultimate guide to teaching in Korea. Thank you for watching this video, and also thank you if you checked out the other previous 5 videos as well. I hope all this information has been useful if you are thinking about teaching in South Korea. If you are currently applying to live and work in South Korea, or you will be going over there soon, then good luck and enjoy your adventure.